All right, I don't know what I did wrong, but I did something.
Author Evangelist Corey Thomas, a dedicated servant leader whose weapons are spiritual in nature and volatile in impact. Hot off the press, author Evangelist Corey Thomas's new book, Sound Advice, Music and the Battle for Your Mind, Body, and Soul. Matthew 5:13, ye are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has lost his flavor, wherewith shall it be salted? It's author Evangelist Corey Thomas's new book, Sound Advice, Music and the Battle for Your Mind, Body, and Soul. Purchase your copy to help maintain that flavor in your spiritual walk. This book is epic. It's sold on every major online bookstore or go to CoreyThomasMinistries.com. I got my copy. Be sure to get yours. It's author Evangelist Corey Thomas's new book, Sound Advice, Music and the Battle for Your Mind, Body, and Soul. Get your copy today.
This is I've been more and more into. I think I've read Corey's book like 5 times now, and I'm a literary kind of snob a lot of times. A lot of people don't know this, but probably about, gosh, it's been about 20 years ago now. I was signed on to Bantam Books, but at the time, a book came out that still haunts me, and that's why I've got it somewhere. It's called A Million Little Pieces, and it was on Oprah and everything else, and the book was a complete fraud. The guy was not telling the truth about any of it, and it came out as a autobiography, like it was supposed to all be true. So anyway, they started drug testing us all. Um, that were just like junior writers. I mean, basically, a good friend of mine had turned in a notebook of mine, and they wanted to hear my story. But and Bantam Books is a subsidiary of Random House. But so, long story short, is at the time I was taking Percocets. I'd been in a car accident, but I was in fact abusing them. I was taking too many, to put it lightly. It didn't last very long, but I couldn't pass a drug test, and that's just the way it goes. Um, as usual, I wanted to start with a devotion. This is from Celebrate Recovery, the 365-day devotional. It's the 30th year anniversary. Man, I like this. I'm not a big step person. I don't think it's the end all be all of anything. I kind of believe that AA does its job in helping maintain sobriety, but I also think it plateaus to a place where, and I got that from a friend of mine, a young dude named Dustin Harper, who is kind of a, I wouldn't even say he's new. He's just such a brilliant kid. He took a hold of the Bible, and you talk about somebody running with it, he ran with it. So, anyway, that's where we were talking about plateauing. So you can only get to, I mean, you get to one place, and then it becomes more like, a social addiction. Like, if you don't show up, it can be very much of a bully system. Like, I hate to say be here, be square, but it's more like be here, you're going to relapse. It's something, I just don't get, I'm not with. Um, all right. So this is day 245, and it's called Handling Anger as a Devotion. And this is from Ephesians 4:26-27. In your anger, do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you are still angry. Do not give the devil a foothold. And something is messed up. I'm so sorry. I got a blinker and tinkering. Okay. I think that's better. I don't know. Sorry, that was bothering me. Hopefully, it wasn't bothering anybody out there. But here's the devotions here, and before I go on, giving the devil a foothold is something I struggle with when it comes to anger. I'm still that way I've gone over this with my group many times, is I think there's a difference between, we talk about this all the time because everything in Kentucky is considered gossip. But to me, if I know somebody's purposely hurting somebody or purposely causing damage, I don't like to be a bystander and just sit there and watch and be like, I knew this was going to happen. If you know it's going to happen, if you know somebody's going to hurt somebody else, or somebody's going to rob somebody else blind, and anybody can answer this question if you feel like it. Usually my phone number's going along the bottom. I don't know. I probably did that wrong. So let's just blame it on me. We're cool with that. Long story short, 336-419-7894. I'm eventually going to make it where we can call in. And there's some exciting things coming to Endure. I can't exactly say what it is, but I wanted to give Laydee, Felana, and really the credit for giving me a outlet to do this on. And I appreciate it. This Endure Entertainment is filled with different cultures, different races. And it's a matter of, getting to know one another and learning from it. And there's a big chance to learn here from everybody. I strongly recommend checking out all the shows on Endure Entertainment. You can find every single show on YouTube. And, what got me here is not what saved me, but what got me here is, I get asked about why I talk about Corey Thomas so much. And it's, I'll give you the full background real quick. Is I'm in a sales meeting. Hold on. Okay. I was in a sales meeting about 2015 or 16. I'm not sure. But this new guy comes in, a pretty fancy looking chap. And, nobody knows who he is. I mean, at all. And, nobody knew that we were getting a new general sales manager or anything like that. But Corey comes in, and, you got a bunch of roughneck, a lot of old school car salesmen in there. So Corey comes in and he starts praying. And, you have a lot of people going, who is this dude, man? And from that day forward, I mean, Corey and I bonded over political science. I drove him crazy many times because I'm stubborn. And but somehow along the way, Corey instilled some Bible verses into me, and it subconsciously stayed with me. So factually and actually, when I was dying last year, a lot of things Corey had said to me over the years started coming back to me, and it got me thinking. And that was a blessing that Corey brought me Christ before I knew how important Christ could be in my healing and really a salvation of a quite a jaded soul at the time, and that's realistic as I can put it. So, I mean, it's just lessons. And the biggest lesson I always quote, and I use it for my, I live by it, man, is Matthew 15:14, which is ignore them for they are blind, and the blind will lead the blind into a pit. There's more to it than that. Some Bibles call it a ditch. But, in modern times, that's become so true with the super church and false prophets. It's hard to explain. I can't get into politics, but false witness, so on and so on. I do know, without getting too far in politics, recently I saw at a Trump rally, and this really irked me just as a Christian. And it said that only Trump and God can save us now. And I've seen it written the other way, too, that only God and Trump can save us now. But I consider that sacrilegious. To me, I'm like, where's Jesus in this whole mix of debauchery? But anyway, to get back to Corey, there's it was a life changer when, I was in the small hospital room. I call it solitary confinement. I mean, I'm serious. It was overflowed from COVID. There was no bathroom in this room. There was no phone in this room. And, so really all I had to do it was 20 to 30 days. I don't really remember, but all I could do and all I had to do was think. And so all the stuff started coming back to me. And, I'm forever grateful for that. And, Corey's book is, I'll run the commercial here again in a little bit, but that's only $25. I think it's 20. I bought 5 of them and ended up, giving them some people that I'm around, but it's really about music and God. And I really don't want to give away too much. No, I really do want to, but I'm not going to. But you got to think about it, man. That's the price of going to McDonald's. And seriously, I prefer to eat. I prefer to eat ramen noodles and read Corey's book over and over again. I mean, I think it's 56 pages, which is not that much of your time, but that 56 pages fills a novel, in my opinion. So, and that's not a commercial. Corey doesn't pay me or anything like that, but he gives me wisdom sometimes when I ask. No, every time I ask. So let's get back to handling anger here. Because our anger is so often undisciplined, we tend to think of it as a sin. But the Bible tells us that anger in and of itself is not a sin. In fact, anger, like any other emotion, is a normal part of human life. The sinfulness comes when we fail to keep our anger under control. The Bible clearly tells us what we are to do with our anger. In your anger, do not sin. We are to take authority over our anger so that our response does not take us down the path to sinfulness. That was number 1. Number 2 is do not let the sun go down while you are still angry. We are to deal with our anger right away. Brooding is nothing more than meditating on our anger. I never thought of it that way. That's good. Which increases its power. Amends need to be offered and forgiveness extended. Do not give the devil a foothold. When we handle anger in the wrong way, we give the devil ammunition to use against us and others. Taking care of anger as quickly as possible foils the enemy's plan against us. We're going to be hurt by others. We are going to hurt others. It's a part of life. Anger and pain are inevitable. It is what we do with them that counts. We can either diffuse anger by making amends and offering forgiveness, or we can open the door and invite the devil in to make things worse. When that happens, everyone loses. The prayer for this devotion is, Father, help me learn to handle my anger in a way that is pleasing to you. In Jesus' name, amen. Now, I've learned to be, since, I'll keep saying it, it's the truth. Since I died, I've learned to be able to control it more and not go off on people. I mean, recently I've had to kick some people out of my private group, which, by the way, is at the top, and you can join anytime on Facebook. It is GN3 and Associates of Sober Minds. And really, there's a lot of fruit in there, and it's I'm faith-based, and several others are, but it's all-inclusive, meaning we don't care where you're coming from. We're all humans, we all hurt, and we're all learning. I myself held a grudge against God since 1995, October 8th of 1995, when my mom passed away at 46 years old and, died of breast cancer. And I was like, why? She wasn't a sinner. She was good to everybody. Everybody adored her. She didn't curse. She didn't drink. She didn't smoke. So confusion kicked in, and she had done her job. She had raised my sister and I both. We were both going off to college. My sister already had, and then I was going, and it was right at the beginning of my freshman year of college when she was gone. And so that was hard to deal with. There's still times today, and that's been 27 years, amazingly, and it still feels like yesterday at times. But there's times still where I see something on TV or want to pick up the phone. It's that gone but not forgotten. But I truly mean that. Where I say it feels like yesterday, it does. Some people can make such an impact on your life that that's the way it goes. But getting back into, there's a lot of false witness around, and especially more recently. And I try and get this off my shoulders as much as possible. But the people I hear, praise Jesus, praise Jesus. The people I hear doing that most and really trying to make sure that everybody's looking at them are generally, and I'm probably wrong, but those are some of the sneakiest people I know. So when it's saying anger, there's two sides to this. Is where there's a lot of people who have told me to, just let it go, let it go, let it go. But like I said earlier, what if that's hurting somebody else? What's your role in that? I mean, are you not guilty of doing nothing? I mean, is there no good Samaritan law in the Bible? I just get it from so many sides. I'm not trying to start anything there, but I'll get, and I'm going to ask Minister Thomas on his opinion on that. He's a lot more skilled than I am. So with that said, I wanted to get into several things, and there are disagreements on this, and it's going to make some people upset. That's not my intention. I'm just telling the truth. I am working towards my master's in psychology, but I'm in no way acting in a professional manner or giving any kind of professional opinions. Sorry, but some of this is not a opinion. So I'm going to cover North Carolina and Kentucky, since factually it seems like more people pay attention to me from my time in North Carolina. God bless you all. I miss you all. Well, most of you. All right, everybody. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is there's, I hear a lot of people saying, I used to use this for an excuse myself, is saying, I was born to be a drunkard, a lush. It comes from my dad's side of the family, et cetera, et cetera. And I did this last night, by the way, on my Facebook, but I'm not I don't censor myself as much as I do on here. And again, I appreciate the opportunity and the trust. So if we don't have this gene, let's say the alcoholic gene is the excuse that's so often used. And I did believe that, and I would constantly use it. So it's almost like I was enabling myself, because saying, okay, well, neither one of my parents drank, but my dad's family had a history of it. My brother drank himself to needing a kidney transplant. Amazingly, this is where you say God's amazing. He was 50 some years old, 40 or 50 something years old. So in being an alcoholic, you're not alcoholic, drug addict, whatever you want to call it. You're not high on the priority on the donors list, but somehow it's like 1,000,001 chance that his wife matched him. And he ended up, that lasted, and it took, and it was until he died last year in, I think it was January. I believe so. I was already heading way downhill at that point. To tell the truth, his wife had gone to one of those anti-masking rallies and ended up bringing COVID back, and he couldn't fight it off. And then, again, but he got to live a fruitful life after that kidney. And I know he got really heavily, he turned a bar. He had a farm that he had turned into a bar and a building out there, and he turned that into a Billy Graham Crusade building. So, I mean, I'm not, Billy Graham's not exactly my thing. But I find that as I knew him, I find it completely fruitful. Really, I do. So with that covered, I don't want to go too much into it. More or less, I want to look into the problem we really are having and nobody's quite understanding, and that is, well, one more thing to read on this one. I didn't cover this nature versus nurture in I hate saying alcoholism, man. I feel like it's a scarlet letter. But let's just say children of God that made some mistakes along the way. I learned that from a friend of mine named Benji. And I don't think I'll ever forget that because it's so much more preferred than saying, hey, I'm Goodloe, I'm an alcoholic, and I'm a child of God that made some mistakes. And that's not because I'm, trying to take it easy on myself or making an excuse. But if you have that addict or alcoholic term, you're wearing that scarlet letter, from the book most of us have read many times. So let's say still alcoholism technically starts somewhere. And that somewhere else is where the environment is responsible, lack of support. Depression tends to lead you towards alcoholism. The evidence for the complex genetic disease of alcohol is to date modest at best. I've learned, just through, and gosh, I'm studying all the time. This is going back to school. It's a lot harder than I really expected, but you know what? I enjoy it. So it's well worth it. Alcoholism is a disease. I don't believe that's true. I know, again, in studying recently that Alcoholics Anonymous had been fighting to have this labeled as disease for years and years. And the only symptoms on the checklist that it really makes are that it can be terminal. And some people like to say it's by choice. It's not. Something is like a mutated gene in your body that you've had. And I know I said there's no alcoholic gene, but there are depression genes, which can set it off, be hereditary. And once you start doing like I did with self-medicating and you get the physical addiction to it, I do strongly believe that alcohol is a symptom, but what's a bigger problem? So I repeat this a lot, but I say if we don't get to the root cause, we're never going to fix the problem. I say this again, I said it last night, but detox is easy compared to what I went through was complete liver and kidney failure, 2 times being resuscitated and going home having 3 weeks to live and the pain and stuff like that. But let me tell you, this is, I'm grateful for that. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. Some people constantly tell me I'm crazy for that. So be it. I'm a certain kind of crazy anyway. So when we look at that and what happened to me in environment is, again, I didn't sit there and witness my parents drinking and smoking and stuff. But I did go through some things that gave me PTSD, which is still not the excuse, but I was diagnosed Zoloft. Diagnosed manic and given Zoloft at 14. And, there's a pattern with me that's gone on my entire life is all, I don't mix pills and drinking. I don't know what is in my head, but it's just something I can't do. So I would quit my Zoloft and then go on long-term binges. My last was almost 6 months. Before everybody realized that I was turning green and fell off the roof once. And that's the first time I realized humans do bounce off of concrete. That hurt like the dickens probably, but I didn't feel it. I was so drunk. I went up to clean the gutters out because I had some brilliant idea that I needed to clean the gutters out. No kidding, there were gutter guards. I didn't need to do anything. I fell off. And, I know some people think it's ridiculous that I laugh at stuff like that. But looking back at my own behavior sometimes is, you have to say, what were you thinking? I'm not going to go back into this story right now, but I tried to ride a bull one time on my dad's farm, and that's probably one of my worst ideas in history. But so let's look at that as environmental. I'm from Lexington, Kentucky, and I'm originally from Hazard, Kentucky, but grew up in school and everything else in Lexington. But by the time you get to, let's say 18, everybody had a fake ID. The bar scene in Lexington at the time was normal Thursday nights. I mean, you go out Thursday nights, you get sloshed. Nobody really went out on Friday to recoup. Then you go out Saturday and you rinse and repeat. And and I was technically a functional drinker at the time, but then after my dad died, I got in a really bad car wreck again that actually cracked my spine, and they put me on Percocets, which didn't last long. Because I was back and forth at the time to Los Angeles as well. But I remember coming back to Lexington, and this was either from Vegas or Los Angeles, but I was flying into Louisville, and I started getting the shakes like really bad. And I was like, what's wrong with me? The shakes and the detox. I was very, very like paranoid and audio hallucinations. That's the first time I'd ever dealt with a detox. And to repeat myself so that everybody understands this, is alcohol is the most dangerous detox. The only thing close to it is Xanax. Both of those can be fatal. The other things, and we're going to get into that in a minute. I've still got some time. And paying attention, the detoxes I've been through, I remember one put me in a coma for 3 months. That's how bad it can rock you. And I'm seizure prone, so that makes it even worse. And, another one, I got arrested for like a public intoxication. And I don't remember why. Oh, because it was on a Friday. So my court case wasn't till Monday morning. So I was in jail and started detoxing, had a seizure, seized out on a flight of stairs in Fayette County Detention Center, rolled down the stairs, and then went into bad hallucinations for a couple of weeks. Not an ideal situation. And, many times I've tried to quit cold turkey and gone through detox. And I don't know how many times I've been in the hospital, but it's been several. And people don't understand that. And, I pray, and I'm telling you truly, if you know somebody going through a spell of being one of God's children that's making some mistakes, don't do that thing like I've had it done to me with a girlfriend or something, where you go out and pour all this person's booze out. And it's a bad idea. Even most rehabs that are responsible rehabs will tell you to make sure the person's getting enough alcohol to bring them in there so they can be medically treated from there. But if you cut somebody off like that, it can be, I know with me one time, it was a matter of 6 hours of not having a drink, and I went into a complete detox and bit my bottom lip almost all the way off. And that's the reality of this stuff. And, not Debbie Downer, but I will say this, when it comes down to it, is I do not attend AA meetings. I refuse to. I think they're addictive. I think it's turned into a bully system, and I think it's gotten a bit archaic. Now, with that said, AA meetings are about, statistically, 20% successful long term, whereas one-on-one counseling, regular treatment for your underlying cause, which again is going to be root cause and effect. It could be depression, it could be anxiety, it could be trauma, PTSD. And if you don't address that, like when I addressed that at the end of last year, beginning of this year, like since then, I don't have cravings. I don't have triggers that set me off. And I really strongly, the deeper I get into study, I'm learning that other than heroin and meth and drugs like that, alcohol triggers are typically taught. And that means, and I've been through it, where you're taught. I got kicked out of a meeting one time for saying I drank a 1.75 of Tito's vodka. And I was just telling the truth, but they considered that me triggering um, people in that event. That's ridiculous. And it's still ridiculous to me. Look, if you live in central Kentucky, for example, and you can't handle what they call triggers, it's ridiculous. I mean, you drive down I-75 from Richmond, where I'm at, and there's a liquor barn here, which is the largest liquor store in the United States. And I worked there in college, no kidding. I mean, it's just on every corner. This is bourbon country. Socializing, it's ingrained in this area, and there's no getting around seeing alcohol in central Kentucky. I mean, you can't go in a Kroger, you can't go in a Walmart, you can't go out to eat somewhere. I don't think of any dry restaurants other than a Subway or McDonald's or something like that. And so, I mean, that's just things to take into effect. So what I've done, and a lot of people ask, some people say I'm riding a pink cloud, which is this thing where you think you're all healed and cured and you're just BSing yourself. No, man, I really don't. I've been offered drinks, and I don't have any desire anymore. And I believe that's part of salvation. And this is where God kicks in my situation. Is I prayed when I prayed, and I've mentioned this before, that 2.5 hour prayer. It was like immediately these bondage chains were lifted from me, taken away. And it was such an experience that I'll forever be grateful for, because I went from being told I had 3 weeks to outliving that 3 weeks to a month. And then I remember specifically the doctor said, "This is miraculous." She's a Middle Eastern lady, and said, "You are somehow healing somewhat." She said, "It probably won't last now, but for right now, you're healing." And I was like, okay. And the more and more I got into it, the more and more grateful. My exact experience with God was praying for forgiveness at first in a generic way, because I didn't know how to pray. And blessed, I got to watch one of Corey's talks on Endura Entertainment. You can find it on YouTube, about learning to pray today. And I pass that on to my group as well. But I always consider myself as a believer, or as some of us say, religious. And but I didn't know how to pray. And I truly had loss of God. And that was probably what scared me the most of everything, is the loss of God and that emptiness I felt. I was more scared of that than I was of dying. And that is hands up truth. God lifted me out of this, and somehow I'm healed. I always talk about how my sister's a longtime medical professional now. And, she says I've got cockroach syndrome, which is, if you get that, it's like they say cockroaches can survive a nuclear war. But I've survived things that nobody should survive. And when I came out of all this and really started healing, my first time driving a car, by the way, was scary as can be. It's not like riding a bike. I mean, you get back on 75 and you're like, I mean, just it scared me to death. But the more and more healthy I get, I started by doing some testimonies, which the power of a testimony is, it can, if you're doing them, you need to be really, really genuine, because giving any false hope or false witness is playing with others' lives. It really is. And I don't appreciate that from anybody. No, I mean, not in the least bit. And I actually found it frustrating more than anything else. So beyond that, let's talk about Suboxone. Now, to start this off effectively, is my own brother, a different brother. He died in December. Both of them died last year. He died of duodenal cancer, I think is the correct way to pronounce it, which is just horrible disease, but he got to see me healing. I actually got to make a trip to see him before he passed away. I think it was about a week before, and that's the first time he had seen me since I went in the hospital. So it was a good moment. We got to leave on, good terms, have a few laughs, and things like that. I do know that every day I was in the hospital, he'd call me up and pray with me. And really, I'll tell you the truth, it was getting on my nerves for a while. And just because, I felt so bad. I couldn't eat. I couldn't. It was a tough time, man. But lesson learned. And so anyway, he was on either methadone or Suboxone for the last 20 years. I have another family member who's been on it for over 12 years. Now, I've studied the bejesus out of this, man. And Suboxone is supposed to be, if the treatment is done correctly, and that includes therapy and counseling. This is, I know people look at it differently as this MAT treatment. It goes on forever. As long as somebody keeps prescribing it, the inherent danger there is if you got a doctor that, let's say, vanishes or, is irresponsible. The detox from Suboxone is worse than the detox from heroin. So let's face it for what it is. Now, that gives me into notes, and these are from Psychology Today and some different studies and stats and so on. But let's start with tapering off Suboxone. Okay. First of all, if you really truly want to get clean, I know I get this argument all the time that you're clean if you're on Suboxone. Listen, Suboxone's just, it's got opiate in it. I know it's got, what is it? Naloxone? Naloxone, I think. I don't know. That word always gets lost on me because there's so many nalox or noxes, whatever. Okay. I was trying to get back to my notes here. If you're really serious about it, there's different ways to do this. One is you need to go talk to your physician. That's first and foremost, because you don't want to cold turkey a Suboxone. It's again a bad idea. You're going to feel like crap, and that, from what I understand, can last up to a month with that one. I know with alcohol, even when I got home for a long time, I still had the shakes, and it's just recently that I've been able to get past that a couple of months ago. But so with that said, get with your physician, and the good possibility is they can recommend other medications in place of Suboxone that can be just as effective. Now, another part of this that I've studied is Suboxone's also not a 1 month drug. The 75% of people that take it for a month and go through these crash courses go right back out there. So that's not a good number. Again, an important thing here is participating in counseling, and I'll read this directly. While Suboxone does an excellent job in terms of managing withdrawal symptoms, it does not address the psychological component associated with opioid dependence. When transitioning off Suboxone, it is critical that patients continue addiction therapy to help address the psychological factors that can trigger relapse, like anxiety, depression, and trauma. All in all, Suboxone is a great way to help patients who are struggling with severe withdrawals and to get through detox. However, it is not intended for long-term use and should not be taken for more than 12 months, period. And you can factually, where's that at here? Most physicians will advise patients to take Suboxone for 6 to 12 months to cope with the symptoms. The Journal of the American Medical Association says that more than 70% of individuals taking Suboxone long-term with treatment remain opioid free. That's a good number. So now we're getting to good numbers. That makes me all happy and jolly. And so, now, because Suboxone is technically an opioid, it can attach to the same opioid receptors in the brain like other opioids, including heroin and prescription-based opioids. However, this is where the similarities end. Unlike heroin or prescription-based opioids like methadone, Suboxone is a partial agonist and does not provide the same high commonly associated with full agonists. The pleasurable effects derived from Suboxone is just enough to distract patients from the severe withdrawal symptoms that come with ending their relationship with opioids. Of course, patients need to taper down from the medication as they progress through rehab. I'm not going to repeat that, except for, after all, Suboxone is not a permanent solution for overcoming opioid addiction, and prolonged use can lead to addiction. There is a Suboxone addiction. Now, I'm going to go to Kentucky first. In Kentucky, this was 2020 to 2021. It's just, sorry. 1,380 overdoses, deaths, and 2.83% of all deaths. That's not just overdoses, that's car accidents, cancer, etc., suicide, are from drug overdose. Now, there's 4 million people in Kentucky, so where you think that 2.83 number is little, it's not. That's a big number. The overdose death rate is 32.5 deaths out of every 100,000 residents. So look at that again, 32.5% of 4 million. That's well, you take the 4 million, divide it by 100,000, and then 32.5% from there. Now, in Kentucky alone, this is 57% of the national average of OD deaths. 1.96% nationwide overdose deaths occur in the state of Kentucky. That's nationwide. That's every state. Now, to go with that, I know on an exam I was working on this week that Kentucky is third in the nation of opiate deaths. That's including fentanyl, of course. Third in the nation when you're looking at the size of states alone and the population is, I can't use the word I want to, but that's pretty kind of messed up in a big way. Next. Oh, geez, this is not good. A lot of this happens in rural areas where there's no help, no church, no community. And that can be really dangerous for people in recovery. And I'm going to go ahead and add it in there, even though I'm not in it. I mean, really, if it's taking AA meetings to rock with it and keeping sober, that's a good thing. It's not that AA is bad, but what I'm saying is from a friend there, when he said plateau, that made complete sense to me because I know people who plateau. And I'll tell one quick story. Is I went on a blind date one time, and this lady was claimed she was in recovery. And she was a keynote speaker that night. And, my sister thought it would be good for me to go to a meeting with somebody who, long-term in AA. Well, when she started speaking, she said she knew she was an alcoholic. When she went to, on her way home from work, which is Winston to Greensboro, that's about driving from downtown Lexington to Nicholasville, or Winchester. Winchester's more like it. So she said she bought a 6-pack on that Friday night. And by Sunday, that was gone. Sunday night, that was gone. And that's when she realized she was an alcoholic. Please, man, I could have drank that on the way home. So there is an issue with people that go to AA meetings purely for the social factor. And there are a lot of people in there. Example, there are some good sponsors, but there are others who are looking for a car ride to doctor's appointments and or being shade tree counselors, which can be so toxic, really so toxic. According to the CDC, deaths due to opioids, and this is national now, including fentanyl, accounted for more than 75% of deaths in the last year. That's insane. So where's the fight at in all of this? I mean, friends, family, and I'll mention this again that we, a few of us went to Shepherd's House, the hub in Nicholasville, and met with this couple who's and another lady whose son had died from smoking a joint. I mean, smoking marijuana, and this kid had no idea it was laced with fentanyl, but it killed him. And I know already that, the dealer's in jail as far as I understand, but why they put it in there? I mean, if you use common sense real quick, they put it in there so they've got the best weed in the area. It's crooked, and it should be a manslaughter charge because that person doesn't know that they're getting a fentanyl laced joint. And whoever would have thought that smoking marijuana would become dangerous? Again, I don't smoke it, but I have nothing against it. It's the least of all worries in this war against drugs, because there is no war. Alcohol is legal, marijuana is not. And again, I'm not saying that as a smoker. I'm saying that from the actual facts and statistics that are true. I can't think of anything I've ever heard of somebody overdosing and dying on marijuana. So that being said, it is what it is. Everybody's got their own opinion. I know people who have gone through cancers and chemo and couldn't eat and just lay in bed and just feel awful, and have turned to marijuana, and it's given them their life back, even if they were terminal. I know people that have so much pain that marijuana is the only thing that helps it. So again, to each their own, but I would do research on it before anything else, because it's not like the rest of the stuff that we need to deal with, really need to deal with. So again, with that scary thing there, this is going to be in Lexington. And I know this because I go and do it myself. Local nonprofits, I'm going to use Voice of Hope here. They provide naloxone. What they do now is they give out Narcan. Like if you're somebody like me, they also teach you how to use it. So if you're somebody like me, I go and pick it up and take it around to different people in different areas. And they also have fentanyl test strips there, which is becoming more and more important. So you could actually, if you are a marijuana smoker, test your marijuana with one of the strips. I mean, just safety. Your life's more important than that. And I know I use Voices of Hope, but I'm sure I'll research it before the next one and see how many others are giving it away. I'm running out of time here, but the overdose deaths in Kentucky increased by 55% between 2019 and 2021. That's in 2 years. The United States surpassed 100,000 drug overdose deaths in a 12-month period for the first time during those same years. Sad, man. There's been in one right here that there's a theory that the pandemic escalated the problem because of being stuck and people not being able to get out and really be social and so on and so on. So I don't know the stats or the studies on that one. I can see it as being a possibility. Now, to end this, I've got 8 months. I want to read a story out of North Carolina, okay? This is from the Winston-Salem Journal, and it's about a young lady who passed away in 2017. Early in the morning of July 8, 2017, Amber Del Vecchio's phone rang. She missed the call, but it woke her up. She rolled out of bed and began getting ready for her job as an executive assistant in a manufacturing company in Catawba County. Her phone buzzed again. It was the same number. Are you Madison's mom? Del Vecchio typed back, yes, why? It said, call me back, the stranger responded. Del Vecchio, who has long blonde hair and a soft voice, had grown somewhat accustomed to these sorts of pre-dawn calls. Her 18-year-old daughter, Madison Workman, injured her ankle 4 years early, and her doctor prescribed the teenager an opiate-containing painkiller. She'd struggled with substance abuse disorders since. When Workman was actively using drugs, she'd call her mom at odd hours. I know I was guilty of that when I was drinking because I would lose all track of time and, think everybody was up at 3 a.m. Okay, so when Workman was actively using drugs, she'd call her mom at odd hours. Del Vecchio tried to always answer, and she tried to treat the situation with softness when she could. At some point, her mother began to think about the 3 a.m. conversations and her newly disrupted sleep schedule as if she had a newborn again. In that scenario, she wouldn't get angry for having been woken up. She'd roll out of bed, pick up her baby, and pat her on the back. She'd bring warmth and comfort. She'd hope that one day soon they'll both be able to sleep through the night. Del Vecchio wrote back, I'm getting up. I'm ready for work. Can I call you on my way to work? At that moment, the mother felt something shift. She picked up her phone and called the number. On the other end, a sobbing woman answered quickly, saying, somebody left your baby on my porch. Oh, a nationwide problem that's worse in North Carolina. Since Workman died in 2017, more than 10,000 other North Carolinians have also died from drug overdoses, according to state data. Sorry, sometimes the Scottish comes out in me. Recent numbers from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention show that over the last year, the crisis grew even worse. More than 100,000 people died. We covered that. In North Carolina alone, it grew by 37% again. And that's between 2020 and 2021, April. Physicians who specialize in addiction medicine, who study drug use and policy and harm reduction, outreach workers say the rise is disturbing, but it's not surprising. This again is a lot of them are saying it's a nearly 2-year pandemic. Fentanyl is a poisoning, and especially the way it's being used, or it's being laced in so many things, because honestly, a lot of people are dying because they have no idea what they're getting into, which is, that's tragic. It's sad. And I personally would say it's manslaughter, but, I'm pretty much out of time for tonight. So, good night to you all. Quick prayer. Lord, as I take us out tonight, please bless those that are hurting and struggling. And please help us to fight this war on what's killing our children, parents. It doesn't discriminate. And Lord, I know the answer, and I know what saved me, and the salvation I have was through you. And I thank you, Jesus, in your mightiest name, I pray. Amen. Guys, that's it for me tonight. I'm going over to Facebook to join the room. And thanks for everybody that watched tonight. God bless you all, seriously. And next week, I'll get into truly how my thoughts on God in all this. Because I truly don't think that I don't think that dying would have stopped me from drinking. I think that Jesus picking me up out of the grave is what stopped me and kept me from looking back. I mean, seriously, I've had tequila put right in my face. Just take a shot. It's not going to hurt you, man. I can factually and actually moderately drink now, but I will not. I choose not to. I made Jesus a promise. And what he's given me has gone without fail. So I'm grateful, appreciate you all. And if anybody needs help, reach out to me on Facebook. My number's on there. Next time I'll have it scrolling across the screen, but it's again 336-419-7894. Good night. I love you all, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.